go hard for it. I'm rocking your block, you until you get knocked off. I'm taking your place, yeah, I'm making my property. Maybe a game that you probably did so with your life for me.
How is it like to see the development of the fighting game scene in general over those 25 years you've been in the industry?
Oh, it's a completely different scene. You know, back then, arcades were where everybody would gather, you know, playing the coin-operated game, and every once in a while, you know, there would be a bigger event where people would travel somewhere. But now that you have online play and you can qualify for online, and there are more games, and there's you know, eSports with prize money and everything, it's a lot bigger of a deal. So I think technology has helped more people participate in online tournaments and just the fighting game scene.
And with this rise of the eSports scenes, did you ever think it would be like this?
No, because when Mortal Kombat came out, there was barely an internet, and there was no online play, and so it was something that we always thought would just remain local. But now it's global. You know, there's you know, players in Latin America. There's players in Europe, the United States, you know, Australia, and they all, you know, compete, and then they meet at a you know, like the big finals event, and so it's really exciting to see players around the world, you know, traveling to compete against each other.
In those 25 years you've been around, and 25 years of Mortal Kombat, huge milestone, what is the greatest thing you think for you, like the greatest thing you've experienced so far?
I don't know if I would say that one thing. You know, there were certainly some highs that, you know, when the first game from Acclaim came out, the home version of Mortal Kombat 1, that was a big deal because that was the first time that we saw a TV commercial based on something that we had done. When the first Mortal Kombat movie came out, that was a big deal because it was in Hollywood, and we went to the premiere, and it opened really big and did well. But for 25 years, the fact that we're still doing Mortal Kombat games and they're still doing as well or better than the first ones, you know, is very exciting. I don't know how many franchises are still releasing games 25 years later that are doing as well as the original.
Very true. And about those 25 years, do you have any fun story you can share with us? I know there must be a lot of stories, but a particular one.
There are so many over the years. It's hard to pick up. You know, I think some of the funnest stories are seeing people dressed up as the characters. You know, I saw a few today that were the the cyber ninjas, and it's amazing. You know, you could just look at their costumes with how much detail there are, and then how much, you know, work must have gone into them, and it's just amazing. So to me, that's one of the most fun things that I see related to Mortal Kombat.
And you talked about the movie as well. It was one of the first spin-off from games and things like that. And now we see everyone's kind of going this way. What do you think about this?
Well, it's flattering just because there have been, there haven't been many successful video game movies. And so the fact that we were one of the first ones, and we were, you know, maybe the first successful one in 25 years, you know, it's been very flattering.
Oh, snap!
Could you tell us a bit about the creation process for Injustice 2? Because you're working with DC this time, and like they are franchise characters, and they're not yours, kind of like this. So how is this process? How is this dealing with this kind of thing?
It's much more of a collaborative thing. You know, like DC does have the final say as far as, you know, how the characters are, but, you know, 9 out of 10 times when we want to do something, DC is on board with us, and so that's really great. We really feel like it's more of a partnership. At the end of the day, they are the ones who have to say yes or no as far as what is something, but they love Injustice too, so they want us to see a really good game, and they really respect the work that we've done with Mortal Kombat and the first Injustice. So it's been a great process. You know, these games are so big right now. It's not just a fighting game. It's the fighting game with so many characters. It's online play, online, you know, game modes. It's this amazing story mode that's been, you know, like watching a superhero movie. And then it's also eSports. It's also a competitive game that people play professionally and have won, some people have won tens of thousands, or in one case, hundreds of thousands of dollars.
At Evo, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Curious how lines, once clearly defined, become blurred.
So this esports take of Injustice 2, how hard does it make to balance characters and stuff like that? Because I can imagine that being an esport is like a continued effort to balance the game and make sure that everybody is the same level and stuff like that. So how much this affects?
It's very challenging, and the fact that we are trying to balance it in the middle of the tournament season is also because we don't want to change the game too much, because everybody is practicing and they know how a character's weaknesses and strengths, and they put hours and hours into it. We don't want to change something and kind of ruin all of that practice. So we have to find opportunities, because we also want to do the necessary changes to make it fair, but the timing of it is very sensitive.
Now that you get this direct feedback from community in real time over social media and forums and online in general, how does this affect? Because before, when we had the first Mortal Kombat and stuff like that, you didn't have this kind of feedback.
That's right.
And this, not, at least not this fast, right?
Yeah. It's the feedback. At the end of the day, it's a good thing. Mm-hmm. There are some really loud people who are just screaming for the character that they want to see. But if you take all of the feedback and kind of summarize it, you can get a good idea of the direction that the game needs to go.
And about this character, that people asking for specific characters, how much does this weights into the consideration of what the next character will be?
The overall consensus weighs a lot. Some people we have will just yell on Twitter or Facebook or something the same thing 1,000 times, and that's not gonna make us choose your character because you said it so many times. But if 10,000 people or 100,000 people collectively demonstrate that they want Red Hood in our game, we put Red Hood in our game. So
is there any chance we'll be seeing some kind of crossover between DC and Marvel? Because you tweeted I think during BGS, like a picture with them both, and it's like
it's something as a game player. We play games as well as make them. It would be so fun to see, but there are the reality is there are some big obstacles. It's two different companies, two different competing companies, and it's characters that that are owned by two different companies, and so we would have to really there'd be a lot of work to make sure that everybody's happy.
It's very, very true, but it would be amazing to see.
It would be great.
Put the devil on the other side, and I will show up. Evolved. Adapted. And prepared to fight.